What's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, today's video, we are talking about the 10% rule. Is it fact? Is it fiction? Just like I kind of led you to believe that we were talking about a video or two ago, you knew this was coming. Today's the day. First, did receive a package from Nathan. We're gonna open this up. We're gonna see what Nathan sent me. Then we're gonna go for a run. Then we're gonna talk about the 10% rule. You're not gonna wanna miss a second. Let's get this open. Okay. All right, here we go. We have the Speed Draw Plus insulated. It's a handheld water bottle that's insulated, which running in Florida is pretty important to keep your water cold. Everywhere else in the winter, it probably keeps the water from freezing. I don't know. Either way, a beautiful water bottle. This is the Nathan Zipster. It's a waist pack with waterproof pockets and big enough to hold an oversized phone. The Lunafire 250 RX. This is a chest-mounted or waist-mounted flashlight. I am actually going to use this probably 5 times a week. So I get up super early. I'm always up before the sun, out for my run on work days. I never use a light. Probably not the safest thing that I'm doing. I will be wearing this. I've got a feeling this is gonna be pretty handy, especially for those of you who don't like wearing a lamp on the top of your head. A runner's face mask. You know what, I have to open this up for you guys right now. With races in the foreseeable future requiring face masks if you wanna run, this one is designed for runners. Let's try this bad boy on. Super comfortable, and I'm loving the yellow. It's got 2 straps around your head. Maybe that's comfortable, but check this out. Hello. Now I can have a drink. I can take in nutrition on the run without losing my mask. Pretty good. A little creepy looking with the mouth shining through. Let's go for a run. We're gonna go for a run, then we're talking about the 10% rule. Let's do this. What a run guys. Oh my gosh, 60 degrees Fahrenheit. You know it's always a good run when I start with the weather because the weather just makes such a difference. 60 degrees Fahrenheit or 15.56 Celsius. Can you hear that hawk flying over? He landed in the tree right above me. Today's run, I dropped off a rent-a-car, I ran all the way home. I took a kind of long way home. It was 11 miles, which is about 17.7 kilometers, at an average pace of 7:48 a mile, which is 4:51 a kilometer. Now, I know I told you guys that this video was coming because my friend Joseph Cumming kind of called me on it when he saw my mileage ramp right back up. And let me throw up on the screen right now from Strava. And you can see here that just before December is when I realized I had to stop. I realized I was injured and I needed to take some time off. There were 3 weeks of nothing. Then you see that little peak. That was where I was kind of testing it. Don't recommend you test an injury, but nevertheless, I still went out for a couple miles here, couple miles there, realized I was still injured, took another week off. Then I got the results from my MRI. It turns out I did not have a stress fracture. I did not have a nerve impingement. So I decided to ramp my miles back up. And it felt like I was ramping up slowly. But if you look at this ramp up right before January, you can see this peak. It's a pretty steep climb. And obviously it is more than 10%. Clearly, by this chart, I violated the 10% rule. My question to you, and this is up for discussion, of course, is the 10% rule an actual rule? Spoiler, no, it's not a rule. Why is this out there? It sounds like something that actually fits. It has face validity. When you say it, you think, yeah, you know what, that does make sense. It's one of those things that sounds like it should be true. If we increase our volume based on a preset, so the 10%, a preset, and when it comes down to it, absolutely arbitrary percentage, it's not taken into consideration each individual runner's characteristics. It would be very simple if we could all just say, 10%, it's the perfect number. If we increase by 10%, everything's gonna be just la-di-da. No one's ever gonna get injured if we only increase by 10%. Unfortunately, life isn't that simple, and we have to take into consideration each individual runner's capacity for running, the type of running that they're doing, the surfaces that they're running on, the speeds that they're running, their history with running, and of course, the actual mileage that they have been running. So let's just take me as an example. I had previously been running a minimum of 55, 60 miles a week. Clearly, my aerobic fitness, my orthopedic fitness, or how much my bones kind of have got strong, that was well tuned. So taking that into consideration, should I start at 0 and run 5 miles and then increase my mileage by 10%? If I only increase my mileage by 10% after my first 5-mile run, I'd be increasing by half a mile. So that example actually makes me think, how should I increase my mileage if I'm only running 5 miles a week? It would take such a long time to get anywhere. And listen, I'm sure some of you are saying, well, Matt, perhaps it should take such a long time to get somewhere. That way we avoid injury. But it makes me think that perhaps there are different rules to go by. And I don't mean to use the word rules because I don't think there are actual rules. Everyone is individual and we have to look at each individual runner's traits and abilities separately. But I did find a chart that gives different percentages, and I'm going to put it up on your screen now. And we can see here that if you're running less than 5 miles a week, you can increase your mileage by 50%. That's 2.5 miles if you're running 5 miles a week. Between 6 and 10 miles, we can increase our mileage 35%. Skipping right ahead, if you run over 51 miles a week, you should be increasing your mileage by 7%. This makes a little more sense, doesn't it? If you're running more, you're already putting your body through stress, so your increases should, it makes sense to say this, be smaller than if you are running less. Oh guys, now would be a nice time to ask you, if you are liking this video so far, why don't you give it a thumbs up? If you're not subscribed, it's right down there. Subscribe. And by the way, I got this information from an article I found on Podium Run. I am going to go ahead and link to it in the show notes below in case you want to pore over it. So in respect to injury prevention, which is what this whole 10% rule thing is about, right? You don't increase by more than 10% or you're going to get injured. No, not always. We need to look at a couple things. Our main focus, the main thing we look at when we are looking to become better runners, to run more, we have to look at our overall training load. And that includes intensity, frequency, and volume. If I'm going out and I am running all my miles very easy, and I'm running them on trails, so I'm not getting that pounding that comes from running on roads, and I'm running all my miles very easy, so I'm not getting that intensity, I can probably jump my miles up a little quicker than, say, another guy that is training for a 10K and he's in a 12-week program of training for a 10K. That person is crushing their workouts day after day. Their intensity is a lot higher. It's a 10K, let's just say it's on the road. So the impact that their body is sustaining over that training block is going to be a lot higher. That person is going to have to be a lot more careful with increasing their mileage than, say, me, who's just running on trails and running easy. By this point, you have realized that the 10% rule is largely a myth. And while in the future, I may recommend the 10% rule again to new runners, it's only because it's easy. It's nice and friendly to just hold on to wrap your arms around and say, you know what, even though it's mythical, I'm going to hold on to this because it gives me comfort and I'm not going to increase my mileage by more than 10%. But if you're anything like me, you need a little science to back it up. That's what we're going to talk about, but I'm going to go inside, I'm going to shower, get clean, then I'm going to provide you with some information on a couple of studies that have actually looked at this. You know, there is science that backs this up. This isn't just Matt spouting off the top of his head. Science. I do love science. Right, I decided not to take a shower. It's so cool that I'm not soaked in sweat. We're talking science. Get this, a 2008 study from the University of Groningen. You know, I practiced that with harmony 10 times. Groningen. The University of Groningen in the Netherlands had a study that had 532 participants. They separated them into 2 groups. Everybody was training for a 4-mile race. The first group was following a training program that was 13 weeks long, and they increased their mileage by 10%. The second group's training block lasted 8 weeks, and they had increases of 50%. Okay, this is what you've been waiting for. The first group, the 10% increase group, had an injury rate of 20.8%. But the second group, with a 50% increase in weekly mileage, their injury rate was 20.3%. Actually less. Not statistically significantly less, but less nevertheless. It means that in both groups, the 10% increase in mileage and the 50% increase in mileage, their runners both experienced injury rates of about 20%. The second study is out of Aarhus University in Denmark. They followed 60 runners over 10 weeks. Out of those 60 runners, 13 of those runners were injured. Now, as is to be expected, those runners that were injured, they did have a higher increase in weekly mileage, and they averaged over 30% increase. But here's the fascinating thing. The 47 runners in the study that did not get injured, they increased their weekly mileage by 22%. That's over double the 10% rule. What conclusions would you like to draw? I'm going to draw the conclusion that science tells us that the 10% rule is not always accurate. In fact, science tells us that the 10% rule is wrong. You can safely increase your mileage over the 10%. But if I've learned anything, it's that we're all individuals and we have to look at each factor involved with our running separately from somebody else. You could be seeing bigger gains if you go above that 10%. I'd be really interested to know if you have gone above the 10% rule and if you've experienced an injury and if you think that injury is because you broke the 10% rule. All right guys, I'll see you in a couple of days. Be kind, be happy, run well.